What's up, guys? On the fly is back again, and you can hardly see me in there. My angle is terrible here. We are back again, and we've got another Brickshore Media artist. And it's not really what you call what we're used to tonight. It's not really a country music artist. This is like a soulful artist. She's got a lot of Motown. If you like Motown, if you like beach music, stuff like that, this is your girl right here. She's just released her newest single, "Say So." With me tonight, I can't talk straight. Miss Carlyle Griffin. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm great, Stevie. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy. And there you go. I hit the button and you started singing again. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. And yeah, so growing up, you grew up in Walterboro, South Carolina, which you said
Walterboro,
is
South
about
Carolina.
an
Yes.
hour from Charleston.
hmm
Uh, what was Miss Carlisle Griffin listening to as a kid? What was some of your first music memories?
Oh man, I was all over the place as a kid. I did grow up on the beach. We spent a lot of time there in the summer, so beach music was a huge part of
Yeah.
my childhood. A lot of the doo-wop bands, a lot of like the Temptations and the Four Tops and the Emotions and all that kind of stuff. We listened to a ton of that when I was young, and then um, my dad was a big country music fan, a lot of George Strait and Alan Jackson, Merle Haggard, that sort of thing. And then when I was in probably like late middle school, early high school, I kind of started to develop my own taste and got into the sort of 60s, 70s mellow classic rock, folk rock, very
Wow.
singer songwriter sort of stuff. So I was kind of all over the place a little bit when I was that age.
Yeah, watching some of your stuff on YouTube and some of your shorts. When I was talking to you earlier before we went on, Hall and Oates. Uh, I heard you do a great rendition of Sarah Smile. I
Thank
mean,
you.
Hall and Oates was like one of those, and I'm probably a right much older than you. I don't know how. I'm almost 50 now. So when I was like, oh gosh, 12, 11 or 12, you didn't have the little Apple Music and all this. You had the radio and they called it a jam box. You recorded, you hit pause and record and waited for it. And Hall and Oates was all over the place, from Private Eyes, A Kiss on My List,
Mhm.
Sarah Smile, and just so many. I mean, they were such a great group back then. It's hard not. I can't imagine. And there you go again. I can't imagine not anybody not liking Hall and Oates.
Yeah, they were definitely a big one too. There's a lot of songs by Hall and Oates that I like, and some that I found kind of later on that I didn't know when I was younger that I've garnered a big appreciation for. So I've always loved their beats and their styles and all of the kind of new takes that they brought to that genre of music. And also, I'm a big fan of their songwriting as well.
Yeah, there's one song that came, I guess, at the kind of the end of their popularity when it wasn't. Everybody was like, "Oh, it's not cool to like Hall and Oates anymore." When grunge came in, but there was one song that they put out called "So Close." I don't know if you've heard that before, but one of my favorite, and I guess you call it a deep cut, but it's one of my favorite Hall and Oates songs. It's just great, the songwriting's so great because I like hearing stories when
Right.
and this one told a pretty good story on that if you haven't heard it. So when did you decide? I mean, when and what made you decide to start music? I mean, did you pick up a guitar or whatever?
Yeah, I started singing when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. I believe I was in kindergarten, in church. I was in church choir, and I had my first solo there. And I think my friends and family kind of noticed that maybe I had a little something there, but at that young, you can't tell
Right.
really. But as I got older into elementary school, middle school, I continued to do choir and continued to sing. And I actually was quite bashful for most of my childhood. If my parents ever asked me to sing, if their friends were around, I'd make them close their eyes or turn around or any something like that. I wouldn't let them watch me. And I think I was in the sixth grade and they were having a talent show, and it was the first talent show I'd ever been able to enter, and I was going back and forth. I didn't know if I wanted to get up in front of all those people and do it. And I'd always kind of had this dream in the back of my head that one day I was going to be a singer, and kind of sat myself down and said, listen, if you can't get up on stage and sing in front of people, you're never going to be a singer. So you better get over it. And that was kind of all it took. So that little first talent show, I think I sang Stay by Sugarland, which is
Oh, wow.
probably not an appropriate song for a 12-year-old, but there's some things you don't realize until much later on. But yeah, started there, and around the same time I was learning to play guitar. I got my first one when I was 10. My grandma gave it to me for my birthday, and I didn't really have an interest in it. It took me a couple more years. I think I was 13 when I first started to really learn how to play guitar and started to kind of write some of my own songs, and took a couple of lessons, and then taught myself a few things on YouTube, and just kind of went on from there and developed as I went through high school and college.
Yeah, it's amazing. You can learn anything on YouTube. I fixed the washing machine because of YouTube. Everybody, and I was scared to death because all my friends were like, "Oh, you can do it. Just look at YouTube." And I was like, "I don't know about that, but yeah."
There's a wealth.
Knock on wood, everything went good so far.
Absolutely.
So, when did you know that music is what you wanted to pursue?
It's a great question. I think that was probably when I was going into college. Um, I went to Clemson University, graduated from there in 21,
Okay.
and I went in as a communication major, music minor. I didn't want to major in music because I didn't want it to become a chore,
Oh
which is
yeah,
what I
definitely.
felt. I had done some intensive music programs in high school. I spent 2 summers at the South Carolina Governor's School for Arts and Humanities as a studying voice. Um, and just those, 2-week intensive summer programs, I was thinking, I don't think I can do 4 years of this sort of curriculum. So I went in as a minor, but I decided to major in communication simply on the fact that it was broad and I could do a lot of things with that, because my intention was kind of always to pursue music first before I did anything else professionally. But some people will just, they know off the bat and they go straight from high school and they go to Nashville or they go to LA or
Right.
wherever, and they start pursuing the dream. But I am really, really thankful for the time that I spent at Clemson. I made some of my best friends there and got to do a lot of things, and build experience and build myself as an artist within that time that I don't think I would have been able to do had I not gone to school. So it was kind of going into college, but also the experiences that I had there and developing as a musician and an artist that kind of, when I was done, told me, yeah, this is what you need to go and do for a little while at least.
So going to Clemson, you got to be a football fan, right?
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, he and I were there at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a great couple football seasons when I was in school. We never lost a home football game. We won the ACC championship, I believe, every year, and won a national championship too. It was
Yeah,
fun.
I can't imagine going to a Clemson home football game. I'm sure that's a wild atmosphere.
Yeah, I grew up in that atmosphere, so I was very well attuned to it by the time that I got to be a student. But yeah, there's nothing like it. I love Clemson with my whole heart.
Yeah, definitely. So talk about a little bit about making the jump to Nashville. How hard was that for you when you decided, okay, I need to be here? How hard was that for you making that jump?
It was definitely an adjustment. I graduated from Clemson in May of 21, and then I spent some time in Charleston over the summer, just playing a couple gigs around, saving some money, and I moved in August of that year to Nashville, and I only knew one person who I'd gone to school with. She also went to Clemson, graduated a few years ahead of me, and was looking for a roommate. And it kind of just all worked out that, she was looking for somebody to live with. And I made it an easy decision to go to Nashville because I still, when I graduated, wasn't exactly sure if that's where I wanted to go, but the pieces fell together and showed me that was the path that I needed to go on. So Yeah, it was something I'd never done. I'd never moved to a big city where I didn't know anybody and I didn't have a job. So I got here and unpacked and I was like, all right, this is it. Like I don't really know what to do next, but I went out and walked up and down Broadway in Midtown and put in applications to be a bartender and ended up working at this place called Live Oak on Demumbrian Street in Nashville, which has been. I didn't know anything about the bar when I went in to interview, but it was the only place I believe that called me back to come in for an interview after I put an application in. And it's a big songwriters bar. They do songwriters nights in there almost every night of the week. And I've been able to make a lot of great connections and a lot of great friends through working there. So it was rough right at the beginning just because I didn't know where I was. I didn't know anybody here. I was
It's
just
scary.
throwing things at the wall and waiting for something to stick. But yeah, it's been a wonderful experience. I have met so many amazing people, so many talented people, and I've been really challenged since I've been here. So I love it.
Yeah, getting your name out there, was that a long process for you?
Yeah, yeah. It felt like it anyway. Um, it was. I do have a funny story about that. Kind of. I was working one Sunday afternoon, and Live Oak hosts the Patriots fan club on Sundays for the football games.
Boo! I hate the
Well, hey,
Patriots.
I don't have any NFL affiliation, so I have
Oh, come on now.
stand
I
and
think
I'm
you'd be a
a college
Panthers fan.
football fan. I'm a college football fan. After that,
Okay, I got you.
I don't know. There's a couple teams I like because there's some Clemson players on the team, but that's
I
it.
got you.
As
I
far
got
as my loyalty goes. Um, but I was just working, pouring some beers, doing the thing, and one of my bosses came around the corner and he goes, "Hey, fan club needs somebody to sing the national anthem this morning. Will you do it? I heard you were like, a singer or whatever." And I was like, "Are you serious? You need somebody to do it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Okay." Yeah, I'll do it. And so I did, and to a packed bar, and him and one of my other bosses were in the back, and he actually had no idea that I could sing. He had just kind of heard that through the grapevine, I guess. And I watched both him and my other boss in the back of the bar with their jaws on the floor.
Drop.
They had no idea what to expect, but little did they know I used to sing the national anthem at the Clemson baseball games and basketball games and softball games. So uh, that was not something that I had never done before. It was just kind of cold turkey, but yeah, that was a neat thing because I don't think they knew that before I did
That
the
is
whole.
pretty cool.
It was a fun day.
So I'm sure you were at Clemson at the time, but I'm sure you would get doing your music thing. How everybody talks about that ugly word COVID. How did COVID affect you during that time?
Yeah, that was an interesting year. That was my partially my junior year into my senior year of college. So I don't. It all kind of happened so fast, and it feels like a world ago now.
Yeah.
I do remember we went home for spring break with this sort of like COVID thing looming over us. And then they pushed us back like 2 weeks and another 2 weeks, and we ended up never coming back
Right.
that spring semester. And I also that was my 21st birthday too, and I had tickets to see Cher in Charleston
Oh wow.
for my birthday, and a lot of other things planned for that. And the entire state shut down about 3 days before I turned 21. So I do remember turning 21 in COVID, and it was not fun. I went to the gas station to buy a beer, and the lady at the cash register didn't even card me. Um,
You're like, what is the
I know
purpose?
that all these years. I would have been doing this a lot more often, but
I tell people all the time, 21 is not all it's cracked up to be. After you get past that, it's like, really, what else? I mean, it's nothing.
I mean, it
So
takes a lot of the pressure off. I will say
yeah,
that. But yeah, I was a little disappointed with all that. But it put a stop to a lot of things. I was playing in a jazz ensemble at the time at Clemson. Um, which I really loved. I had just kind of gotten into that year. I had been taking some jazz guitar lessons, but this was my first opportunity to sing in a jazz ensemble, and it was something that I really, really loved. And we had a big, concert we were going to put on, and all this stuff that we never got to do because the world shut down and all that stuff.
Right.
um, but that following fall semester, um, I don't think I ever stepped foot into a classroom. It was very isolating, if you will. So I think creatively that was a really difficult time for me because I didn't really know what to write about. I didn't have anything going on. There was nobody, around. It was just me. And I don't like to focus on my own thoughts too much because that can get a little dangerous. So it did give me some time to, sit down and practice guitar a little bit. And that was nice to have a little bit of extra time to do some of those sort of things. But yeah, creatively it was very difficult. I mean, it was a lot of just, sort of panic around and wild things in the news. And yeah, it was an interesting time. And I also had my younger sister had gone to Clemson. It was her freshman year that year. So I did thankfully have her around to kind of, keep my energy up. And
Right.
so that was a positive of that year was having her there and getting to make some more memories with her. But yeah, that was wild. I'm so glad that is behind us.
Right. Me too. Me too. So songwriting. When did you start songwriting? And I know people get tired of hearing me say this on these interviews, but I am so in awe of songwriters because you do it. Like I said, I did one song, thought I could do. I did it in like 20 minutes. It just came out like just like that, and I was like, okay, I can do this. But no, I haven't done one since. But songwriting. When did you start like really songwriting, and what kind of process? Because I know a lot of these artists tell me each one of you have a different process that you go through.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I always kind of was songwriting, and I just didn't know it for a while. Um, it wasn't until I really started playing guitar that I kind of would put two and two together. But I would do a lot of just like words and melodies in my head, um, and write random things down in notebooks that were all over the place. Um, I think the first full song that I ever remember writing was in the eighth grade. It was about we read Gone with the Wind in my eighth grade history class, and I fell in love with it. I think I was the only one in the class that actually enjoyed reading the book. But I wrote a song that was, I believe, in the point of view of a woman who was kind of going through the same things that Scarlett O'Hara went through in the book, and she was like asking Scarlett for advice. That song was
Wow.
also named "Gone with the Wind." It was a big hit in my little hometown. Still my dad's favorite, I think. But that's the first one that I remember writing, and I was like, "Oh, well, you can, draw inspiration for this kind of stuff from anywhere."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that just kind of set the wheels turning. And then as I, got a little older and started to experience more things in life, then writing songs became more of a release than anything else. I think now it's partly that, it's partly a creative outlet, somewhere to just put my thoughts and my energy. But it happens in a lot of different ways. It's sometimes, like you said, with your song, those are the ones that get you, that come out in 20 minutes, and you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
can do this a
Yeah.
million times. Yeah, that happens once in a blue moon. I will say that my newest song, Say So, I think that one was, it was one of those. It came out quite quickly after the first few lines were down, and I figured out where I was going with it. But not all of them happen that way. Typically, what I do is throughout the day, if I'm just, doing chores or I'm going for a walk, or that's when I usually get a lot of my ideas, when I'm just kind of singing to myself nonsense things. And every once in a while, a line will come out and I'll go, oh, I think that might be
That's
good for
good.
something. And so I'll write it down, and I just have a bunch of random notes of things that have popped in my head. And I'll sit down and kind of go through those and see if there's anything that's striking me that day that I might want to elaborate on. Um, Other times it's a chord progression that I like the sound of and I want to put some words to. sometimes I'll write a verse and a chorus, and then it takes me 9 months to write the rest of the song. Um, it's something that I would like to maybe mainstream a little bit more for myself. But I don't think that's how my brain works. My songwriting is kind of haphazardous, just like the way that I think. It's all over the place.
Yeah, that see that what you talked about with the Scarlett O'Hara song. That's what I like to hear because I I just look at some of these songs and I was like, people that will draw it from like part of history or something like that. I'm like, that's a good idea. You know why did I think of that or something like that? But yeah, that's great. That's the kind of song I like to hear right there. It's something that something that you can relate to,
Mhm.
and it's like everyday life or something out of history like that that you pick up on. That's the kind of song I like to hear there.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I do sometimes if I've got a lot of writer's block, is I'll just pick up an old book and thrift through it and see if anything, kind of sticks out to me and opens up some sort of new avenue that I haven't gone down yet. That's a tool that I've used before to break the ice.
So you had some other songs come out before Say So. You've had Symptomatic Daydream. You've had Crash Down on Me. Uh, Talk a little bit about getting in the studio and recording like these songs and Say So. What was it like when you got in that studio for the first time recording?
Yeah, so Symptomatic's actually an interesting story. I had recorded the demo for that song in Charleston before I moved to Nashville. And about 2 or 3 weeks after I moved to Nashville, um, I had met a woman at a songwriters round while I was working and introduced myself. And I was like, "Hey, I'm new to town. I really liked what you were doing up there. I'd love to get together for a coffee or something and just kind of talk about your experience in town and with songwriting and yada yada yada." And so we went to coffee the next week. Her name's Allison Park, my friend Allison. We went to coffee the next week, and she was playing another round that night. She said, "My friend Joel from LA hosts it. You should come out. I'll introduce you. Just so you can make another friend in town." And so I went out and watched her and met Joel, and he said, "Well, I have an opening on my round for next week if you want to play." And at this point, I had not played anywhere in Nashville, so I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, I want to get on stage and play this for people." And he's like, "Okay, great. Well, send me, anything that you have, just so I can get a feel for your sound and make sure I can put you with people that complement your voice on a round." And so I sent him the demo to Symptomatic Daydream. I said, "It's not finished yet, but this is the most recent thing that I have." And a few days later, he gave me a call. He said, what are you trying to do with this? Like, what do you want to put it out? What do you want to do with it?" And I said, "Yeah, that's the plan. That's what I would like to do with it.
Yeah.
I just don't know exactly how to go about that. I'm brand new to town. I don't know anybody." And he said, "Well, I'm also a producer, and I really love this song. And if you want to put it out, I want to help you finish it." So that kind of started that relationship with Joel, who has produced the last two as well. Um, and so the tracks we had from the demo were pretty well intact, and we just recorded the rest in Joel's home studio. Kept the drums and the bass, I believe, from the original track, and then re-recorded the guitars and vocals and put some pedal steel on it and stuff. So for that one, we didn't go into a full studio. We just kind of did it bedroom producer style.
Right.
But for Crash Down on Me, um, that was a really neat experience because that was the first time that I kind of went into a studio with a full band with the intention of recording this one song. Because I'd been in the studio previously in Charleston a few times to record a couple of different demos, but they were kind of just bits and pieces of things, and um, which were still great, but it was just a different experience of going in there with the intention of doing this one song and being able to leave with it production ready, essentially. But I got to work with a ton of great musicians on that track, and I've met a man by the name of Matt Shalika. I always say his last name wrong, but he's become a really, really good friend of mine. Him and his wife Sarah. He's got this huge vinyl record business, and I collect vinyl records, so we get to nerd out about
Oh yes.
that. But it's just something that I really loved, hanging out in the studio all day with the musicians and just getting to know them and their experience, and cutting my own music, and it was wonderful. And we did the same thing for Say So, and with Say So, we also got to bring in the horn section, which I've wanted for
Yeah.
ever. So that was a whole nother thing that I was just, grinning from ear to ear back in the sound booth while they were doing that.
So vinyl collector, you bring that up now, because you know, of course, when I was growing up, vinyl was the only thing you had. You had vinyl and 8-track. See, I'm aging myself. Vinyl 8-track, and then it went to cassette. But I still got some of my vinyl. I started collecting a little bit more. My daughter, she's 19. She's like retro, and she listens to a lot of the same kind of music that I did back then. Uh, her Christmas list one year was Fleetwood Mac Rumors vinyl on vinyl. So yeah, she's a retro girl, but she
Yeah.
she likes a little bit of everything. But okay, let's talk about Say So. And the first thing, and the thing that you're most proud of up there, from the way you talked about it, first thing you hear I noticed is the horns on there, and it immediately it's got like I told you before we went on, it's got like a Motown feel, like a beach music feel. Because I'm where I work, our store owner will not play anything but beach music and Motown, and I hear it every day. So I was like, yeah, this kind of sounds like it would belong playing on our store. So
Mhm.
Say So, how did that come about as far as, as the songwriting? How did you come up with the idea for Say So?
Yeah, so I was on vacation. I was at the beach when I started writing this song, actually. And when we go on our vacations, typically my routine, not every morning, but at least every other morning, is to get up and go for a walk on the beach for a little while before it gets too hot. And I do that. I like to take long walks a lot. I do a lot of my thinking at that time, and so I was on that walk and I was just going through things in my head and put together the first few lines of that song. I believe the first two lines of it kind of came out just while I wasn't really thinking about anything. I was just walking along and enjoying the sound of the waves and all that. Um, and I didn't really know where I wanted to take it yet. And um, I don't believe I had my guitar with me on vacation. I think I was really just trying to take a break. So I wrote it down and I kind of just let it sit for a little while until I got back home. Um, but at that point in time, I was coming up on a year of living in Nashville. Um, I was working a professional job that I wasn't in love with, and also still bartending part time, and also still playing gigs and rounds and traveling, and had some other things going on personally that I was just kind of all over the place, and was trying to really figure out what I was going to do next, what kind of path I really wanted to take, how much of my energy I wanted to put into the music thing. And it kind of all came out in that one song as a stream of consciousness when I got back home and sat down with my guitar and tried to write out something. But the interesting part is that I recorded just like a little voice note on my phone and sent it to Joel. And he immediately sent right back. He was like, "This is great. Like, this is what we need to do next." Because it was something a little bit different from my previous songs. It was a little bit more upbeat. Stylistically, it was a little bit different. And so when I got back to Nashville, I went over to his house and we did a demo of it. But the first demo came back and I was just not happy with the way that it sounded with all the instruments and stuff. It was definitely more country than what I envisioned for it. So I kind of did a little bit of research, a little bit of digging, because I told him told him on the last one, I said, on the next one, we're going to have horns. I know I've moved this point to the ground, but we're going to. And with the first demo cut, there just really wasn't any room for it. It wasn't that kind of song at all. So I did some research to have some things we could compare it to, get a kind of a different vibe and a different feel for it. And the one that we ended up probably, I don't know what can't remember what the word I'm looking for is, mirrored it after the most was Spanish Moon by Little Feat. That song has got a little bit of a horn drive and kind of a swanky groove to it. And that's what I wanted more than anything. So we sat back down and changed sort of the rhythm and a little bit of the progression and put a little bit more emphasis on the danky little bridge towards the end.
Yeah.
Make it different than the rest of the song. And we really got to sit down and be artistic with it. And that was the really probably the most fun for me was remolding it into something that was more the idea that I had. And that's been the great thing about working with Joel is he can kind of get those things out of me. If even I don't really know what I'm talking about, I can explain it in a way that he understands and can make it happen. Right. So that is kind of how that song came about. The original version of it is nothing like the one that we actually put out. But I think that's how a lot of songs end up into something that reaches the potential of what the song could be.
The horns definitely fit, especially with your voice. Definitely fits that song. You were right on that. Definitely right on that.
Thank you so much.
So now comes the part of the show where we do like our 2-minute drill. So we're getting near the end of the show. Like in football, you got like a 2-minute drill. Mm-hmm. So right here is some quick hitting questions, and we'll see how you come up at the end because I've added a few since the first time I did this. So
okay,
you're nervous?
A little.
Oh, come on now, it's not that bad. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Favorite album of all time?
Oh, that's not fair. Okay, I will say
I know if it's like me, it changes like maybe by week to week.
Yeah. Well, the vinyl record collection that I have almost 500 of them now. So that's a hard question for me to answer. But I will say probably the most memorable and influential to me just over time is Tusk by Fleetwood Mac.
Wow. My daughter will love to hear that. Okay. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke. Diet Coke. I'm not a Coke drinker.
A lot of people, I don't know what it is. I guess in Nashville, Coke must be the thing because Pepsi is like the thing around where I'm at.
Yeah, no, so, I think Coke's definitely South Carolina.
It must be.
Coke. Must be. Yeah.
All right. Favorite artist or group?
I have a hard time answering that question too.
Or if you got more than one that you want to name, that's fine.
Currently, one of my newer favorite artists has been Madison Cunningham.
Okay. I hadn't heard of her. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah. I don't want to say Stevie Nicks because I already said Fleetwood Mac.
Well, that's fine. I mean, it's fine. Say what you want. No wrong answers.
There are no wrong answers, right?
No, there's no wrong answers.
Favorite group?
You can say Fleetwood Mac if you want to.
No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to say Fleetwood Mac. I'm gonna stay current, and I'm gonna go Tedeschi Trucks Band.
Wow, I'm gonna have to ask you about them after we get up because I'm not familiar with them. Lake or ocean? I think I know the answer to this.
Ocean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Chocolate or vanilla ice cream?
Chocolate.
Okay. First gig you remember playing?
Ooh, other than that little solo in church, my first like acoustic gig, right. I don't know. I did a lot of musical theater when I was young too. So those I'm trying to think my first acoustic gig. I want to say it was my grandparents' 50th high school reunion, but
Oh wow.
I think I was like in charge of the music, but I think I was DJing. I don't think I played that, but I can't remember.
Okay.
We're gonna go with that though, because that sounds like a fun answer.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right. I'm not going to say album because you're in the CD era. First CD you ever bought?
Oh, um, it was one of Hillary Duff's CDs.
Ah,
Be really obsessed with her, and she was. I don't know if this is one of your questions, but she was my first concert too.
that
The next
was
question.
coming up. That was coming up. So I'll mark that one off. Favorite favorite sport?
Ooh, to watch or play?
Okay, let's say to watch first.
To watch, probably either football or golf. I really like to watch golf. I know
Golf
that's an
puts me
unpopular opinion.
golf puts me to sleep. I coach football, and a lot of my football players on the golf team too. And
Mhm.
they'll get in there and start talking about. Well, I was watching them on someone's and I'm like, dude, no offense, but if I'm watching golf, it's on a Sunday afternoon, and I'm about to fall asleep.
Yeah,
So
well, that's what I used to think too, because my granddad was a huge golfer, and Golf Channel
yeah,
was always on, and I never understood it until I got a little bit older. But now I really like the sport, and I've been to a few golf tournaments, and I like it a lot. I understand it
the,
better now. But
the
to play,
town, yeah, to play.
yeah, to play tennis.
Okay. See,
Mhm.
the town I live in, believe it or not, it's our population is like 95 people, and we have a golf course and a country club here.
Mhm.
So I've lived here practically all my life, and I've never played a round of golf. Believe it
Really?
or not. Yes, and I'm like I can. I mean, I've hit golf balls like at a driving range, and I can hit the ball, but I can't control where it's going. And I'm like, I will get so frustrated. I know me because
Yeah, well, I've never really played much. I took
uh-huh.
lessons for a little while when I was a kid, but I always say that tennis is my country club sport of choice because I played tennis in high school and I love tennis.
Okay, yeah, I played tennis. I wasn't very good, but I was decent, but uh, couldn't do it now. All
Mhm.
right, first concert was Hillary Duff. Do you remember? Was there an opening act for Hillary Duff? Do you remember?
I don't think so. I don't remember. I was young, and then the next one after that was Carrie Underwood and Billy Currington opened up for her.
Okay, okay.
But
Favorite TV
I
show?
just want to
Oh,
clarify
oh,
that I've seen a lot of cooler concerts since then. But I really was
who,
obsessed.
who was your last concert?
Oh, my last concert, I think was Stevie Nicks.
Really? Was that recent?
That was in October. I feel like I'm missing
Okay,
one. I think the last one was Randy Rogers Band at the Ryman.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
All right. Favorite TV show?
Golden Girls.
My wife would love you. She is a big time Go Girls
That's
fan. All right. Favorite meal?
ooh, either a really really thick ribeye steak, rare with a sweet potato and like green beans, or sushi. Love it. I love
Jeez,
it.
pineapple on pizza?
Sure, I'll go with it. It's not usually my choice, but my sister loves it, so we eat it a lot.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Ooh, that's a hard one too. I have a lot of favorite movies. We'll go with Tombstone. I think
Okay. That's a good one.
it's up there.
And this, I'm gonna get a ooh out of you on this one too. Favorite song?
That's
Look,
rude. That is a
look. Let me
rude
tell you.
one.
Let me tell you this though. When I started doing this with Noel Tolan, and Noel, I was like, when I started asking these questions, it's going to be a reaction like you do. It's going to be like, oh my gosh, you asked me. Noel with the artist, which she just went boom, just like that. Favorite song? Uh, what was it? I think it was "Forever and Ever Amen" with Randy Travis. She just said it just like that. I was like, you didn't even have to think about that.
I don't. I have so many that swim around in my head, and whenever somebody asks me this question, they all disappear. Um,
Hillary
but
Duff.
okay, let me think. Let me think. Give me a second.
I don't even remember the songs Hillary Duff sang. So
I don't know. I don't remember any of them at all, but at one point in time, I knew all of them. I did a podcast recently with a friend of mine where we talked about like our favorite songs that made us really nostalgic, just that we've experienced at other points in our life. And I do remember mentioning this song. I don't think it's not my favorite, but it is one that whenever it comes on, I'm definitely gonna groove to it. And it is "Baby Hold On to Me" by Eddie Money.
Eddie Money.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
I love that song.
That is way back. That was back when I remember as a kid, and you're too young to remember Columbia House Record and Tape Company. They would. You've probably seen the ads. You could get like 8 records for a penny.
Hmm.
Then you had to buy like so many. That was the kick. That when they charged you for the ones, you had to buy like 4 in a year. But when they charged you for it, it was like astronomical. It was like twice as much as you pay at the store.
Yeah.
But my mom and dad, for some reason, when I had to be like 5 or 6 years old, and they got that Eddie Money album, and I saw the cover, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" Because I was like a diehard Kiss fan. I was
Mhm.
like, "Where's the makeup at?" and all this stuff. But I listened to that album a lot because I was just so into music then. I was just like, I would listen to anything, and that's how I am now. If it's good music, I'll listen to it.
Absolutely. I
Uh,
agree with you.
okay. This is going to be a tough one too, I think.
No
If
surprise.
if you could collaborate with any artist, if whether they passed away or still living, who would it be?
Passed away or still living?
Yeah, anyone, any artist
Mm,
that you could do like a maybe you could do a duet with or something like that.
these are really good questions. You're really
Yeah,
making me think.
I try.
I want to say Aretha Franklin, but I don't think I'd ever want to sing a duet with her. I think I just want to like, I don't know, be in her presence or something.
Yeah,
Um,
I got a funny story to tell you in just a second after you get through
okay,
thinking.
okay. I'm gonna say let's go Jimi Hendrix.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's what off the wall one. Okay, you talk about Aretha Franklin now. So we live, like I said, about 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes, well, probably 40 minutes to an hour from the Virginia line. But we live in like a town that's like 20 minutes away. It's right off 95. And
Hmm.
there's a Cracker Barrel in that town. And my wife and her friend went to Cracker Barrel one night. This has been, gosh, it's probably been 15 years ago, maybe longer.
Hmm.
Uh, she calls me. She said, "You're not going to believe who's in Cracker Barrel." And I said, "Who?" She said, "I'm sitting here looking at Aretha Franklin right now."
And the Cracker Barrel?
She was in Cracker Barrel in Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina one Saturday night. And I was like, "Go up to her and ask for an autograph." She said, "I'm not going to ask her for an autograph while she's sitting there eating."
That's
But
crazy.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was when you said Aretha Franklin, I thought about that.
Yeah.
Okay, last question, and I'll
Okay.
let you off the hook.
Okay.
What's your guilty pleasure? And what I mean by guilty pleasure is something that you've got maybe on your playlist or maybe that you listen to that people would not believe that you listen to.
Um. Well, the first thing that comes to mind, and I don't think anybody would be surprised by this, is my yacht rock playlist. I like really love Steely Dan and that kind of
Christopher Cross.
Christopher Cross, yes,
Oh,
and
you're
like
you
Robbie
see, you
Dupree.
got me hooked now. I
Love
love
it.
Christopher Cross.
Yeah, I listen to that like all year round, unironically. Um, I don't know. I think that's probably it. I don't think anybody else enjoys it as much as I do.
Yeah.
Because I listen to it like recreationally, not just when it's warm and nice outside.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
mine. Cause see, I was in the '80s. I had the mullet. I was like '80s rock, Motley Crue, all those guys. But on my playlist I was a diehard Debbie Gibson fan.
Yeah.
Oh yes, she was. I mean, she was nice to look at. She had good music, and I was like, still am to this day. I've got some Debbie Gibson CDs over here that I still have right now. But yeah, that was my guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I think that or like Return of the Mac or
Return of the Mac.
I love those ones.
That's a one-hit wonder there.
I love that song.
That's the what was that a like a fast food commercial for a while?
Oh, I have no idea.
I
But
think
it's on my I think it's on my that one and Big Papa by Notorious B.I.G.'s on my workout playlist. Those really get me going. And I have a lot of like, Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and Live and that
See,
sort of
I was talking about Pearl Jam with somebody the other day because I do like about 2 or 3 years ago when I started doing the podcast. I was like, I listened to a lot of just the hits off these albums,
Mhm.
and I said I'm gonna you know try to make it a challenge where I listen to the entire album and like rank them, like five being the best or
Yeah.
whatever. So I've listened to a lot. It's now I write it down in a notebook. I don't do it on the computer because I'm
Mhm.
like old school. But listen to a lot of Pearl Jam. Like I like the hits, but to me, when I start listening to the deep cuts, they all start sounding the same to me. I don't know what it is.
Just Eddie Vedder's voice is so
Yeah, and he's
nice.
got a distinctive voice. There's no other voice like Eddie Vedder.
I really think that's what it is because I really like Pearl Jam, but I think
I don't not like him, but it was just
yeah, no. I see what you're saying, but I think that's part of the reason why. Just because
yeah.
you hear him, like he is Pearl Jam is Eddie Vedder.
That may be what it is. So I'm glad I talked to you tonight because you may have solved it. Because I was really talking. I talked like two or three people about it. I was like, I don't know what it is, but
Yeah,
every song, and they were like, well, maybe it's the rhythm. And I was like, no, I don't know if it's the rhythm of it. It's just something makes me seem like it's everything sounds the same.
yeah.
But
I think that's it. I think we
I
saw.
think you solved the mystery there. Good job.
Thank you.
So let's talk about where we can find you at. All your social medias. Talk a little bit about where we can find Carlyle Griffin at.
Absolutely. I am on almost all the social medias. I'm Carlyle Griffin Music, Carlyle on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And then on Spotify and Apple Music, it's just Carlyle Griffin. You can find me there, and that's where all my music is.
And you also have your website at carlylegriffin.com. I'm looking at it right now. You've got some shows coming up, right?
I do. Yeah, I actually have a one that's not on the website yet because it was a very last minute one. I'm flying to Charleston tomorrow to play a show
Oh
at
wow.
Royal American downtown Charleston. And then yeah, I'll be at Live Oak. We're doing a little 90s country brunch round with some friends of
All
mine
right.
on Sunday back in Nashville. And then I'll be performing with Brickshore Media's 615 live event.
Yeah.
Music Room on I believe that's the 9th, 8th
The eighth.
June. Yeah.
Yep. June 8th. Nicole invited me to come out there for that, but I was like, maybe next year if y'all do it because this getting off work will be a problem. And I've got a wedding to go to that weekend, so it wouldn't
Yeah.
be good to ask off. But I would love to come out there and see all you guys. But yeah, so guys, check her out. Check out Say So. Be sure to like her on Facebook. Give her a subscribe to her YouTube channel. I just did yesterday. But guys, really, we need to push Carlyle Griffin here. And look, is there anything new coming out that we need to be looking for soon?
We have some things in the works. No dates or anything yet. But we're looking to put some more stuff out in the next few months. So just keep an eye out on the socials. I will be posting when things start to get moving. But just keep a lookout.
Yeah, whenever you want to come back on and push whatever you want to, we'll do that. Maybe we need to get you back on here and do like a top 10 one-hit wonders.
I would love that.
That would be when we were talking about Return of the Mac a while ago, I said, yeah, we need to do a one-hit wonder. That's something we need to set up right there. We got a comment come in. David Richmond, hey, how you doing, buddy? You catching us right here at the end here, but Miss Carlyle, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. It has been a pleasure, absolute pleasure to be able to talk to you tonight. I've really enjoyed it, had a blast with you, and good luck to you. And guys, like I said, go check her out. You will not be disappointed when you hear Say So, when you hear any of these songs. that she's got out, and looking forward to hearing new music for you coming soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Stevie. I've
All
enjoyed
right.
it.
You guys have a great night. That was Carlyle Griffin on the Fly.